to watch for this game, in my mind, is Empty. He played 5 games during the second split. Only 5. Bebe played about 17. Other jungler, Raze played, I think, somewhere around the 20 mark, 24, somewhere around there. So I think that Empty is going to have a lot of pressure on him. There's a reason they're not playing Bebe. He's a little bit more aggressive. Empty will play the things like Skarner, the things like Gragas and Sejuani. And I want to just see whether the lineup of GRX can rally around him, because he's going against one of the best of all time in his role. Cannot understate that enough. Diamondprox is a god of the jungle.
I still remember watching back in Season 2, in the Moscow 5 days, when he was on the Shyvana, just completely showing everybody what counter jungling is and how to play this way of League of Legends that everyone hadn't really thought about too much yet. And we'll see if Gambit Esports can make the run here at Worlds. Like you said, their MSI run was cut short by the Flash Wolves. This time around, their destiny back in their own hands, going up against GRX here. The bans in the first phase are going to be Varus, Olaf, and Aatrox on the side of Gambit. GRX responding with Kaisa, Xayah, and Akali.
And for the CIS region, Albus Nox Luna put them on the map. And since then, since 2016, they have been struggling to get back to what they think the limit of their potential is. For players like Kira, Diamond, Stejos, and Edward, that's even more important, because watching your rivals do it would hurt.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to be the one left behind. You want to get out there and make your own statement, and what better way to make a statement than with the champion that you most often play for Diamondprox, that is the Gragas. I mean, the other interesting thing, by the way, it is also the most played champion, well, tied for the most played champion, with PvPStejos.
Yeah.
That could go either top lane or jungle. 4 plays in the top lane in summer, 8 plays in the jungle. Gambit definitely got their value pick here.
Well, before they bought Diamondprox onto the lineup, Stejos was actually Kira's jungler. And he was a really good Gragas player back then as well, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Picking up the Urgot for PK, big pick. This guy, during the gauntlet, the regional gauntlet to make it here, was popping off on the Urgot. He had some of the coolest ultimates, flashing over Raptor pit walls, getting 3-man fears, really thinking he's one of the strong champions. And I mean, it's the best top laner on the patch right now, in my opinion. So
very
looking
strong
to see him try and take it.
Well, it's also Alistar picked up on the side of GRX, and I'm talking about a lot of plays on Gragas for Gambit Esports. Well, GRX has 10 Alistar games on their support over the course of Summer Split, so he's definitely got plenty of experience on that champion. Gambit deciding they're going to grab their own AD carry in the bottom lane. We did see 3 different AD carry bans between the 2 teams in that first phase, so they want to make sure that pool doesn't get pitched any further, grabbing the Tristana as well as Ornn to go up against that Urgot.
Yeah, and I mean, this draft so far makes a lot of sense, maybe with the exception of Tristana. Haven't seen a lot of Tristana, is a big hyper carry for Lodik, so see how well he is able to play that. I think picking up the Skarner because of the fact that, you know, jungle already there for Gambit Esports, want to be able to mirror that so your newest player in Empty doesn't get pinched all that much. I think that both teams would be happy with where they're at right now.
I get to cast the first Skarner at Worlds 2018. I am happy, man. GRX making sure they at least fulfill one commentator's dream, as Skarner's locked in as the jungler for them. Gambit getting the Ornn means that obviously the Gragas is going to be in the jungle, so that's the Skarner versus Gragas matchup. We'll see how the rest of the draft plays out now, as the Shen will be banned away by GRX. Gambit saying, hey, AD carry pool has already been hit pretty hard. You still don't have an AD carry. Let's hit it harder. Taking out the Ashe.
And I wonder what Stitch has, you know, whether it is something like a Swain that can be picked up into that bottom lane, not something that we've seen all that much of. Obviously still have some physical damage that's going to be coming out of the Urgot in the top lane, so is the potential to play it a very hard lane bully? We've already mentioned the fact that Lucian seems to have a very high priority for some of these teams at Worlds, where I hadn't really seen it be played to all that much success. Ezreal Jhin, also a couple of picks that, you know, potentially if you start really digging down into the playbook that you can start pulling up out of the bag if you have to.
Scrounge in the bottom of the barrel, but hey, Vayne, a champion that did receive some recent buffs, cycling through a couple different AD carries now. Kalista. Now, Kalista Alistar is one of the deadliest bowling balls that you can throw in the bottom lane, but she's been out of the meta for a hot minute now. See if GRX actually wants to go with this one, and they will lock it in.
And that's super interesting, because Kalista has historically been one of those champions that if you don't blow her up, she just takes over team fights. However, when you got things like Ornn, Gragas, whilst it's not guaranteed CC, if you start missing those ultimates, something's gone wrong. throughout the course of the team fight. So as long as there is, you know, some kind of threat coming out of Kira, I think they should be able to deal with Stitch here. It's going to be a very early QSS that has to come out, and I think that, you know, an interesting pick, probably due to the fact of how far it's been pitched down.
And you know, Alistar's hard enough to kill already. The ultimate obviously makes him very durable. The champion's a phenomenal initiator. But Kalista is also notorious for just having the ability to save the support with the ultimate. And once you hit level 6, it'll be very hard to kill off Koala as the Thresh is locked in for Gambit. The response to that support, that playmaker in the bottom lane of the Alistar means they're going to grab a playmaker of their own, as mid lane is the last one to be locked in, and it will be the Malzahar for Kira.
Yeah, and I mean, that does fit the wheelhouse of Kira. You know, big rise player, but below that plays things like the Swain, things like the Galio, a lot of wave clear, a lot of control. He is a farming machine. This guy will put up ridiculous farming stats. And I think the fact that it also gives some lockdown for Diamond to be able to play around when that level 6 hits, you know, going to be certainly a lane that they can pressure Candy in, who was prone to make some brain fades. You know, flashing after LeBlanc clones, having a couple of really rough dives coming out in the regional qualifier for GRX. Someone that can be affected by pressure from what I have seen so far in this team's gameplay.
Well, this game, I expect to see inventories fall victim to the Malzahar and Skarner tax. You've got suppression on both sides. Purple champions and suppressions go pretty well together, and that could be problematic for the carries on either side. I mean, your Malzahar, your Tristana gets pulled in. Those are your only real damage threats. You've got 2 tanks in the top side in the jungle. Obviously, the Gragas does have a bit more damage these days than what he used to be with the pure tank Cinder Hulk build, but you're still not relying on Gragas damage to carry a team fight. Meanwhile, you've got Syndra going up against Gragas and Ornn and Thresh. There is a lot of pick potential there.
Yeah, I actually think the person that's going to have to pay the tax the earliest, you know, maybe apart from Kalista, is going to be the Skarner. Because if you're the Skarner and you're trying to run past Gragas, Ornn, Thresh, and the Malzahar,
yeah,
like, you're not getting anywhere in a hurry. That champion's biggest weakness is no gap closer on someone that has to be able to get access to one of the carries to really be made successful. This could be potentially a difficult game for Empty to be able to navigate. And as I said, not for potentially the right reasons, he is probably the member of this GRX lineup that is going to be under the biggest microscope just because they left Raze in the LMS to bring Empty as well as Bebe.
This, the first game here in Group D. Group C's first game was pretty impressive showing from Cloud9. Both these teams would love to come out, have that equally impressive first game, really set themselves up to be the team to beat in this group. Remember that each group does have 3 teams in it, 2 of which get to go on to the knockout stage, 1 of which will not. And Group D is also the group that does not have one of the big, like, main region teams in there. You don't have a team from EU, from China, from NA. So considering that, that means that if you get 2nd seed in this group, and those other 3 teams win their groups, as a lot of people are expecting them to do, you've got to go up against one of those bigger regions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if you're GRX here, the goal is to get first, because you do not want to get knocked out at this stage of the tournament. I think Gambit, especially after how they treated the bummer of the Flash Wolves pick at MSI, would just be dreading the fact that a 2nd might not be good enough in this situation, and the journey really does have to start now for them. They came out swinging at MSI play-ins. I was super impressed by how prepared they were. We haven't seen competitive LoL for a couple of patches now. Really want to see if they've got anything interesting in store for us in the next couple of matches.
Absolutely. Nobody's getting into anything too interesting in the first level here. Looks like everyone will be content just taking those defensive positions and securing some Skarner Spires. Empty will be starting up here at his own blue buff. Same thing can be said there for Diamondprox.
And a little bit of a different start here. I mean, double blue buff starts coming through for the junglers. We saw double red buffs both last game. So I think it maybe lends itself to how well of a farmer, some damage, how well of a farmer Skarner is in the early game. Want to be able to just spam out that Q, want to be able to control your Spires.
Well, the nice part about Skarner is you essentially have unlimited mana as long as you are in the Spire. There's no way you can actually run out of it, but getting the blue buff down also means that you're going to be clearing the red buff later, so you have more time to utilize that for your ganks.
Famous level 4 Skarner ganks that we always hear about. You know?
They're fantastic, let me tell you. No, they're not.
They have to be so far behind the opponent. I think that the reason we're seeing Skarner come back in to the meta is just how easily he is clearing the jungle at the moment. And the fact that he is still impactful at that level 6 mark, you know, the electrocute nerf certainly helped him out a little bit because all of a sudden he's not getting blown up in those 1v1 situations. If you engage onto Skarner and he doesn't die, the little bugger does like a surprising amount of damage.
Does a lot
he just
of damage.
starts wiggling at you and swinging his claws, and yeah, he really hurts.
People underestimate how much damage you can do when you get such an amazing cooldown reduction by using the Q on enemy champions. Did you know that Skarner with 40% CDR, if you're using your Q on enemy champions, if you auto-attack an enemy once, it has a 0.5 second cooldown?
Yeah.
You just spam that out like crazy. That's a very deadly Scorpion. That is not somebody you want to mess with. But right now, Candy is not somebody you want to mess with in the mid lane here either. Has a lot of lane control super early on. Kira's half HP, no mana, and just stuck under the turret.
Yeah, if you can't bounce the Malefic Visions, you're going to go super early in this matchup. We've also seen Candy just continually destroy the Voidlings, and Kira needs to be careful here. Nearly in lethal range, and will have to take a very ugly shot with 13 CS.
Yeah, that's not one that you want to really be taking. 487 gold in the inventory, so not a whole lot you can buy with that. Just a single component, maybe some potions. And it looks like he is going to go with the Mana Crystal into the refillable. Right back into lane he goes. As the Syndra goes back, does grab the Dark Seal to enhance the Corrupting Pot as well as Boots 1.
Yeah, and that's what I would have expected to come out of Kira, to be perfectly honest. Like, I would have liked to have seen the Dark Seal as well as the refillable. Try and regain some semblance of control here. However, going with Mana Crystal, I mean, probably helps a little bit more of the immediate problems, but you just kind of see the mindset already of the experienced Gambit mid laner is getting bullied around, needs that level 6 to be able to turn the tide of this lane.
Bottom side, you can see that Stitch has the Sentinel set up for the Kalista, making sure that it keeps an extra eye on the jungle in case Diamondprox wants to make a move towards this bottom lane. And looks like it's going to be 2 versus 2 for now. Diamondprox are going to come in there as well. Edward taken down to half HP, but it will not go any further. Even though Gambit had the extra body down there, the fact that they went in early and lost that even fight means that it's Edward who walks away the most hurt.
Yeah, I mean, Edward did what, you know, a lot of Thresh players do, just walked at them, got the double play. It looked like it was going perfectly. However, just the return damage that came out and the mobility of Stitch to just continue this pressure underneath the turret is going to be pretty oppressive. And the hook going high-wide, not what they were really looking for. And Edward Diamond wasting a lot of time down there. Also, probably lucky to not get his back reset. GRX looking like they have a good level of control right now on the map.
And both junglers have also gone back and found their critical first buy. For Predator junglers, it's huge because it gives you the boot. It gives you access to your keystone. Without that level 1 boot, you don't have one. As bottom side, it's spears being thrown into Lodik there. As Stitch continues to maintain this lane control. Pretty low on mana, though, so just going to keep farming up, keep those guys away from this bottom lane. And for GRX, remember, this is a team that their regular season was
bad.
Okay. It was wishy-washy to bad.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they finished 5th.
Right.
For a team that goes to Worlds, that's not a good regular season.
Yeah, 5th. It's. I mean, you're not at the very bottom, but you're not exactly singing your own praises and writing songs about how good you did. At the same time, once they got into regional qualifiers, they had a much better showing. They were first in a lot of metrics of all the teams that were competing there in terms of how we measure how good you were doing. And this is a team that you would hope then could use some of that momentum coming here into the play-in stage.
Yeah, completely agree, and I think that the big thing that changed for them was the more consistent approach to jungling, the less risk-taking. We saw a lot of the time that exactly this was happening in the regional qualifiers, that they were just organically winning lanes, pushing in, allowing Empty the freedom to be able to invade when he wanted. They've got CS leads across the board. That's going to lead to pressure, and Diamondprox to have to start taking more aggressive routes throughout the jungle and looking to relieve that pressure. And if you just stay with free pushing lanes, more often than not, the enemy team will crack eventually and start trying to look for those plays.
And I find it interesting that GRX is winning all 3 lanes right now in terms of looking at the farm and sort of where they've been, because Gambit is a team that has had Kira, Stejos, and Lodik all be the carry before. These guys all have big carry potential, but so far they're all losing their lanes. And to be able to shut down all 3 of those weapons early on like this is good for GRX.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's saying that the tide should start turning. You know, all of a sudden you got access to Stejos' ultimate in the top lane. Kiro's got his as well. As soon as Diamond can join that party, as soon as you got the top side of the map with the level 6s, if Stejos gets any priority up there, he's going to be able to just walk mid lane and start pegging ultimates at Candy, who Syndra, not necessarily known for her high mobility.
No, not really.
Susceptible to some of these ganks.
Has a little bit of trouble on that one as Diamondprox shows up here into the bottom lane, wanting to set something up yet again. Remember, he did pay a visit here earlier, but it didn't work out too well. All solo laners and junglers have ultimates right now, ready to go. You'll see Empty set himself up there on his Spire, making sure they've got control over that one. Kira just going to knock the shield off of him there as the Sentinel will continue just maintaining control, vision over this bottom side of the river. Both teams, you can tell, want to make something happen down here, but it's sort of a game of chicken.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, they're just continually looking to unlock Edward on this Thresh. They need to start getting potentially some ganks rolling down here for this peak to really pay off. Historically, one of Edward's biggest champions. But I think Empty has really read this playbook. They know that they can't take down the Urgot top lane, so really there is only a play mid or bot, and he's just doing a very good job of hovering between these two lanes, and the control is certainly there.
GRX recognizing how much control they have over the lane, and the fact that you've got the Kalista level 6. I talked about this a little bit during Champion Select, but this is so powerful because you can walk forward and check wards like that. Yeah. Just throw Alistar in front, have him smack the thing, and if he gets in trouble, whoop, you pull him out. No big deal.
Yeah, it's certainly a very frustrating lane to play against, and I think that so far the navigation has been a bit risky. This could be an all-in.
And putting some good damage there down onto Stejos, but Ornn's tanky enough to get himself out of that one. Remember, you're going to be executed if you fall below 25%, and Urgot can hit the ultimate. Candy finding a little bit of damage down onto Kira there, but Diamondprox hovering around this one. Has popped the Predator. You can see Empty with a Predator of his own. Both these junglers looking to fight. Stun comes out. There's your pull as well. Empty dragging it back. More chain CC going to be popped off. Damage going through. Diamondprox getting himself away, but it's Koala with the Ignite and the Flash to secure the kill.
That is such a cute play coming out of this Skarner right there. Able to read Diamondprox again like a book. Diamond wanted to go bottom. All of a sudden, Empty's down there. Big pole.
See if they can find the hook there, and there it is. That's the ability of Kalista to shut down playmaking.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that's going to be a teleport expended into the bottom lane by Kira as well. Koala backing on a ward. He's going to have to get the heck out of dodge. But you've got to applaud Empty. He has been at every gank situation that Diamond is looking for. And at the top of the show, you know, Shocks, Marks, Raz, they were talking about the fact that this guy on your screen that's about to get picked up and killed is the catalyst for all of the plays. So if you're just able to track him around, if you're able to ensure that he is not having any major effect, it's going to go a long way to beating Gambit.
And he did a really good job there, smiting the big chicken to get enough health to force both summoners out of the enemy support. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lived. But it still wasn't enough. Sometimes they just bring too many people to the party and there's no way to get away from it. It was a good move there from GRX, who are now 1,500 gold in the lead, despite only having the gold from a single First Blood plus assist under their belts. And that's because of the farm spawn. Look at this, 10 CS in the top lane. You've got about 10 CS in the jungle, 20 in mid and bottom lane. They're just out-laning their opponents.
And I said to Raz, you know, I've watched GRX play. I actually have a little bit of a crush on the LMS as a region. I really enjoy how they go about League of Legends, always have. I just said, Raz, you need to start pointing out some positives of this team, because I'm a skeptic after watching them play in Split 2. And he said their individual players are still good enough. If they bring the game plan, they will start winning games, because individually, this is a team that can stand up. And I think that that's what we're seeing right now. Isolated laning phase, track Diamond around with the Skarner, and just accrue leads, and it's working a treat.
Looks like Gambit have decided, all right, this isolated laning phase isn't working so much. Let's get the boys together. Let's have a party in the Drake pit, grab ourselves that Infernal Dragon, get some more bonus damage stats, thanks to the whole team picking that one up. GRX will not be there in time to contest it, and that is free objective going the way of Gambit.
Yeah, it certainly is. The one thing that no one really talks about with Infernal Drakes, they're only good if the game goes long enough. because they're a percentage
They don't do much
multiplier.
early.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's
6%
like,
of 70 damage is 4 damage.
yeah, it's not all that much. And GRX is looking at that one and they're saying, you know what, we could potentially teleport in, we could look for the big play, but ultimately they've got themselves an Ornn, they've got themselves a Malzahar. Why would we risk it when we're already on track to be able to close this game out before that Drake means nothing? You know, potentially going to be another one coming up as well. So I like the patience shown there.
Candy will continue pushing up here in this mid lane as top side. It's PK just having no concern for this Ornn whatsoever. Stejos decides to try to go in, try to flex those muscles a little bit, force out a fight. It ends up immediately turning right back on him as the 3-man invade from GRX, clearing out some vision, placing down some of their own. They want to make sure if there's a rotation, they're on top of it. They can see what's going on there. Diamondprox still hanging around down towards this bottom lane, as this should be continued control over the area for GRX. Kira could be in some trouble here. Empty goes to the flash, into the pull, into the damage, into the ult, into the kill! And Empty sets up the second.
That is just so well played. Immediate suppression, but the impressive thing is that Candy uses the ult first to get the orbs out for the follow-up stun. With 2 members, always going to be enough damage, and Kira just having a nightmare of an early game. Diamond about to join him.
Diamond's going towards it.
Koala.
Not a place you want to be.
He showed. Why
He
did he
stepped
show?
out of the brush just for a second. I didn't know if that was a spectator thing or if that actually appeared, but either way, not a good situation for
Must have
Gambit.
seen like a eucalyptus leaf or something. He was
Like,
like,
there's
eh.
some sort of tricky situation happening here. I don't want anything to do with this. Gets the hell out of town as PK just continues controlling things here on the top side. Has the Black Cleaver, which of course does a good job shredding the armor that Stejos is trying to build. Is going for what appears to be the full-on Frozen Heart. First and foremost, shuts down some of the attack speed from the Urgot, from the Kalista, and from the Skarner.
Yeah, interesting, because normally when we see unskilled Spellbook picked up, we see maybe the more aggressive Iceborne Gauntlet coming out, potentially going to look to, you know, combo with Diamondprox. So much CC, if you have a little bit of damage, you're going to be able to take the Urgot down, but certainly not what they're going for. And I think that now, Gambit are just like, okay, let's scale. You know, we're now a 3.5 item comp. We're going to try and slow the pace of the game down. We've got ourselves the Drake already. If we can just stretch this game, look for little objectives, look to just start picking up, you know, maybe a lane swap comes in. Maybe you try and use that Tristana to push down a turret and just start opening up the map. You know, they can be happy. They're only 2,500 gold down, and they do have a very good late game carry.
And this is a great chance to go back to what I talked about just for a second in Champion Select about how this is a team that uses the experience that they've got on themselves to staunch the bleeding when they're behind. Yep, 14.5 minutes into the game, we're pulling into mid-game now. And when you are down 2,000 gold come the mid-game, being able to make sure that doesn't balloon into 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 gold deficit is very important. And for Gambit, that's the goal. Make sure that they don't get further and further and further ahead. As once again, we're just watching Edwards sweep out some wards here in the bottom lane. Keep the vision out of your jungle, right? Make sure they can't comfortably move up and try to collapse on your rotations.
Well, the disaster zone right now would be if there is a teleport play into the bottom lane, you know, they take another 2 kills. They start pushing down your turrets. They open up the map. This 2,000 gold becomes a 5,000 gold lead. Then all of a sudden this game is beyond repair. So they do have to take the slow approach. They just need to stem that bleeding. They need to point the Ornn damage abilities towards the creep wave so it actually does some damage on them. That would be great. As Kira again.
Oh, you could be in some trouble. They pop the shield. Not able to find the slow after, but PK with the rotation.
Really nice roam out of the top lane. You know, I thought it was going to be Stejos looking for those, but instead it's going to be PK with all of the priority. And we just keep going back to it. Kira burning splash. That means the next gank is going to be more successful. Stejos in some trouble here.
Stejos trying to get away from this Urgot. Doesn't want anything to do with this one any longer. Empty wanted to chase after him, but without the flash available to go over the wall and follow the blast cone, that is not going to be a kill here today, but it is control over the area. And you just talked about lane priority. Let's talk about river priority. Let's talk about Rift Heralds, because that's what GRX is talking about right now.
Yeah, and I think that the reason that GRX are bringing up their bottom lane, they're trying to open up the map. They know that the scaling is going to be there. So this time they're confident. They've got their first couple of items. Koala in some trouble.
Oh, it's going to be a big team fight, though. Koala going in, looking to start things off. Damage already coming down. Edward exploded. Diamondprox now tanking up everyone. Has to flash himself out of that one to stay alive. GRX goes 1 for 0 in the fight. You can't pour your damage into Alistar.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I thought he was going to be picked off there. I thought, you know, potentially just gets grabbed by Kira, or Ward goes into the brush, but instead they base check the Alistar, 4-man pole, and top lane now, they're going to be able to take the turret. Stejos heals to get away, but that's not really what you're looking for.
Can't heal the turret. That thing's going down. That's a pile of rubble. GRX are going to grab themselves not only the kill they already got, they're going to grab themselves first turret of the game. They've got 3,500 gold lead. They've got Rift Herald on their jungler. Things are coming up GRX time and time and time again because of plays like this.
Yeah, and you know, I was like, okay, Ward over the brush, they're just going to grab him and he's going to go down. But that's not what happened at all. 4-man pulverize as he flashes forward. Decisive play. The Rift Herald's already dead. Gambit, what are you fighting for? This is one of those games where we said, staunch the bleeding. Don't give anything back to them. They go for the risky play. They go for the contest. Now Rift Herald first turret, all of it is gone. And GRX are just like, yeah, this is where the game should be. We're now very confident.
They sound the Ornn horn. Looking to go after Stitch here. Nice flash. Got himself away from that one as Koala's going to run interference. Looking to keep him out of the way yet again. Stitch has the fancy feet. He gets himself out of the way yet again. Edward's going to be thrown backwards. He's looking to grab the kill onto him. PK makes it happen. Still going to be on the front line there with the Urgot. Suppression goes down onto Candy behind enemy lines. But now Kira, you're alone, man. This is not the place to be. Candy cashes in, and GRX 2 more kills.
And time again, Gambit are like, this is the play that we're looking for, and they realize halfway through it certainly is not. GRX punishing them for sticking their hand in the cookie jar. And you can just see how confident this lineup is right now. They did the hard yards at the start of the game. Now all of it is paying off, and they've got leads everywhere.
Another one just popped up in the bottom lane as Shelly used herself as a human, well, Void Thing Wrecking Ball to take that one down. PK moving up through the enemy jungle. No concern whatsoever for what's going on right here. Stejos trying to get himself away, but Empty decides they're going to bring Diamondprox right back into the rest of the boys. Candy barely escaping from that one, accidentally taking the turret aggro, as Lodik does manage to pick up the kill onto Stitch in the jungle in the meantime, but that is still 19 minutes into this game almost before Gambit get their first kill.
And GRX just continually roll with that momentum, you know, they speed the game up. They say, you want to go aggressive, we can certainly fight fire with fire. You use so much in that bottom lane assault. We're going to rotate it from bottom to mid lane. They take down all 3 outers. And you know, this is just Koala playing on the edge of aggression. He just walks forward time and time again. They're like, they're not going to dive the double tanks. Well, unfortunately, that is exactly what they plan to do. Stitch cheats, goes the wrong way through the jungle. They're the kind of mistakes that later on in this tournament may punish GRX, but in this game right now, they just look like in such firm control.
5,500 gold in 19 minutes is one hell of a lead, my friend. That is not something that you're just going to have to barely consider. I mean, for the side of Gambit, we're past the point of staunching bleeding. We're in full-on recovery. This team has got to find some way to turtle up and make it so they can force some more mistakes out of GRX, because you can't fight this squad in open ground right now. They're so far ahead. Look at the itemization. Adaptive Helm, Black Cleaver in the top lane. Righteous Glory almost done for Skarner. Luden's Echo completed there in the mid lane for Candy, working on that next item with the Blasting Wand. Rage Blade plus Bork for Stitch means what you were talking about. If that CC is not dialed in, your whole team's going to look like pin cushions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, the ability to just kite this lineup out, they are the one and done, you know. Stejos going to throw the ultimate, Diamond's going to fly in there, but with the current items that are picked up, no one is dying. Lodik is nowhere near the point he needs to be able to shred the tanky front line of PK, of Koala and Empty. So really now you're looking at what cheeky vision can we get out? Yeah. How do we see when they go for that Baron play? How do we punish the neutral objectives while trying to get side lane farm onto the carries that need to be there in the late game? Wouldn't it be surprised to see Kira fall even further behind and Lodik start taking his farm? Because this is an area that potentially Gambit is in trouble with.
Gambit decide to make the call to go for Drake number 2, but PK has found his way into the side of the fight, looking to grab some damage down on Akira, who is going to be taken decently low here, loses about 1/4 of the HP. Koala goes in, play to stop the charge. Empty goes over the wall, still going to make some kind of a play here. Gambit still could turn this one around. The Ornn Horde comes through, as Koala will be saved by the ultimate from the Kalista. GRX lose the Drake and they lose their top laner. Those are the kind of mistakes that Gambit needs to punish, and they find them.
Yeah, the easiest way to win a fight when you're 5,000 gold behind is if they don't bring everyone on their team to that fight. And you can see right there that Candy was absolutely nowhere near it. And I think that, you know, that's an overextension. That is a play that Gambit can look to continually punish. What could be on here? No, go for it.
No, just getting himself out. Yeah, that last play, I mean, the enemy team's in the Drake pit. You're far ahead. PK's like, all right, we're going in. We got him. But it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kira does no damage. He doesn't even get through the shield of the Urgot there. But this is the overextension, you know. Without flashes available, you're not going to be able to get onto the back line. They funnel into this choke. Lodik right now is just free hitting. And if this had been slightly further to the right, you know, that's potential to catch Stitch, to be able to get onto Empty. And that team fight could have actually been worse for the GRX lineup, so have to kind of count how lucky they were on the back end of that.
Want to comment again on the itemization here, because Candy's finished item number 2, but it's not what you typically see. It is a Void Staff, which, remember, the changes to MR itemization that happened not recently at this point, but the most recent ones is, oh, just delete him right out of the game, why don't you? Empty, grabbing himself kill number 3 this game, but Candy wants to make sure that even if he's having to put damage into the guys on the front line like Stejos or Edward, it punches through. And when you've got damage like that, it's going to punch through.
Certainly is, and now all of a sudden Stejos in the bottom lane going to try and save this turret. I don't think it's going to work.
No.
I think that too many times we've seen Gambit look for opportunistic plays that are just going nowhere, and this is going to be an interesting fight.
The bonk noises as he does 50 HP damage to Urgot every time were thematically appropriate there, as PK now has to find a way out of this one because backup is coming. Even if Stejos doesn't have the ability to take this Urgot down very effectively, Lodik does. Ornn gets sounded. There's the part that they need, that second hit connect, as PK is going to be taken down. Kill number 2 over the 80 carry of Gambit. But GRX has decided they're going to go for the Baron. Remember, they are in a 4v5 if this fight breaks down all the way. Empty's in some trouble, going to be knocked back into the rest of the team. Kira's going to suppress him further. Even so now, as Edward tries to go forward, he's going to be CC'd, brought down. Skarner pull, make sure of that one. Stejos into the back line. Koala absorbing the damage from the AD carry. The resets come in. Lodik goes forward. It's shut down for Kira. Empty's going to be targeted next. Lodik looking to grab the damage onto Candy. Not looking to wait. Does the flash, finds the double kill for his mid laner. And Gambit Esports have found their fight.
And GRX thought they had the Baron, but they did not consider the 2 teleports. Both Lodik as well as Stejos able to make it to the fight. Now pressure is on Empty to be able to steal away this Baron.
I like what Lodik did there. Hop over the wall, pop the plant, go right back. PK's alive though. Wants to come in and keep them off this Baron. Health bars are low, mana bars are low, but there's still tools to be used here for Gambit. Can they manage to make this happen? Stejos, good job using the stasis there to keep himself away from the Urgot ultimate. PK likely going to be taken down here, 1 versus 5. Not really a number you want to find yourself in too often, but he buys enough time to keep Baron away from Gambit. He did his job.
Yeah, absolutely, and they maintain the 5,000 gold lead. So whilst you make the monumental error of, you know, starting up the objective whilst the teleports are available and getting cleaned up in the team fight, this was very nicely played by Diamondprox. That is a perfect cast. Edward unfortunately missing the hook meant that the ultimate had to be used onto Empty, but still the aggression out of the veteran players. You know, Stejos getting onto the back line with 3 members putting damage into him. That's not where GRX wants to be at this stage of the game with fights. And the target prioritization was also just really nice. You know, you're not going to be able to kill Empty. Let that guy go. Focus on the mid laner. And the kills went where they needed to. Now you've got a 3-0-3 Tristana. Now you've got a couple of kills onto Kira. And the game looks a little bit more doable now.
The game looks playable now from the side of Gambit, where previously it was looking like all right, everybody just sit under turrets, hope that they mess up. It's still a pretty big gold lead. I mean, I'm not going to try to lie about that one. It's 4,000 gold down 26 minutes. You're still on the back foot. But when you show that you can fight like that, and when your opponents, equally importantly, show that they will put themselves in compromisable positions, if Gambit can keep collapsing on that, if Gambit can keep playing to their experience, keep a cool head, and wait for those punish opportunities, they can still win this game.
Yeah, and the only person they need to actually have gold is Lodik. As long as he can shred through the lineup, they're in a situation where they can win team fights, because it is not the best tank shredding lineup on the GRX team. Kalista historically has struggled against tanks unless the fight goes for a very long time. Syndra sucks against tanks. You know, she wants to be assassinating squishies, so Lodik is the member that they need to be able to keep safe and need to be able to get gold into.
At the same time, PK does have that Urgot ultimate, which is sort of like a Cho'Gath ultimate, and that if you are going to fight front to back, it's good for blasting the biggest meatball on the enemy team in Stejos and trying to get rid of him a little bit faster. GRX will need to do something with this gold lead, though, before we do scale to the point of a 6-item Tristana. 2.5 already complete for Lodik. Let's see how this fight breaks out. Ornn not going to find a whole lot of success just yet. Onto the front line they go. Skarner suppression going to pull Stejos away. Goes into the Gargoyle Stone Plate, going to take the Lantern now, looking to get himself out. Koala over the wall, able to find something, able to find some control as PK puts him in the grinder. And we're off to the races as GRX finds 2.
And another confusing decision coming out from Gambit. It looked like they had just regained some semblance of control. You know, they had teleport advantage on Kira, but instead they choose to group up one more time. They give over 2 kills, and now Baron is the objective.
GRX Baron, second time's the charm, or is it? Gambit still have 3 members to try to stop this one with. Koala could be in some trouble, is going to be taken low, does not have Alistar ultimate. Lodik goes on a rampage, taking him down. Diamond over the wall, are you the hero of the day? He goes in early, it's going to be secured by Kalista. Lodik wants to find the kill, grabs one onto Candy, still looking to finish off even more. Stitch grabs the damage down now onto him. Hero's already shut down as Empty grabs that shutdown onto Lodik as well. It's GRX winning the fight and taking the Baron.
And the hardest champion to outsmite is going to be the Kalista. So many spears put into that Baron with the Rage Blade as well. You know, interesting decision to go for the steal and not just the fight. If Diamond had have regrouped with the team, could have been different, but this is the questionable situation that started it all off. You know, they throw the ultimate at Stitch, the only flashless member of the lineup with his support, but they're just not able to get anywhere near him. And as you mentioned, even though Stejos is tanky, that execute damage that comes through underneath 25% rips him back in. PK gets a very nice spear here and continues the chase. There's a reason Urgot is so powerful in the current meta, and it just plays like that.
And here you go, Gambit jumping in, trying to make something happen at Baron. Yeah, you get the support.
Well, this is a confusing bit. Is Diamond goes over and looks for the steal.
Versus Kalista.
Whereas if he had cut off that choke point, you know, Stitch not able to jump forward, potentially they can look to just team fight that one, but went for the all or nothing play and got nothing, unfortunately.
Honestly, the whole fight from the very beginning just spelled out greed is a deadly sin to me, because Gambit felt so greedy with that engage, saying, all right, we won the last fight, we're going to sound the Ornn horn from 2 miles away and try to hit Kalista. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to play to how you're winning the fights, and that dire mistake from Gambit now puts them at a point where they're down 7,000 gold, where GRX has Baron, and they're pushing.
How much is 2 miles in non-freedom units? Kilometers, you know, like the rest of the world?
I can try to figure that out after this push is done, because I only measure things in freedom units. I apologize. It's a long way away to sound the Ornn horn. I'll give you that one.
You know, just a little bit confused as I Gambit right now, getting pulled all over the map. This Baron buff starting to put in some work.
All right, Gambit have got their work cut out for them, man. It is hard to defend against a lead this big, against a Baron buff on multiple enemy members. Mid lane tier 2 still standing. The last turret outside of the base to do so for Gambit, but it won't be that way for long. Damage comes through. Koala goes forward just to zone everybody else out. Empty decides to pop the Righteous Glory just to see if maybe somebody's going to step up too far.
They're fighting again.
There goes the horn. Finds its way onto some of the tanks. Suppression down into PK. That's not the guy you need. Diamondprox barely getting himself out. Stejos going to be pulled back by the Skarner ulti. PK's got the fear and the execution as Gambit falls apart. 5 still alive for GRX, and the push continues.
And this guy on Urgot is an absolute monster. Time and time again, the fear has been there, and PK carrying GRX in these team fights.
The TP brings him right back into what could very well be the game-winning push. 20 seconds left before Edward and Diamondprox can rejoin the fight. It's Kira and Lodik versus the world, but the world is looking pretty damn formidable right now. GRX collapsing onto that second Nexus turret. They do decide it's time to back. They won't go for the win here.
Yeah, and I mean, that's disciplined play. They take one of the base turrets. They're not able to knock down the victory, so they take the tempo reset. They're going to be back on the map at the same time as the Gambit lineup, because Stejos still isn't up. And this team fighting is so confusing from Gambit. You know, the base isn't broken yet. You still have scaling through the Tristana, but they move forward. And you can see how devastating Koala has been on this Alistar. Couple it with the fact that PK is willing to burn the flash aggressively, gets the 3-4-man fear. And they just don't do enough damage to the front line at this stage of the game.
These long-range Ornn ultimates aren't doing it. They aren't finding it. I looked it up, by the way. 2 miles is 3.2 kilometers.
There we go. It's a long way.
For all of you who are not watching from America, you get a better idea of what I'm talking about now. As Gambit, they have to realize that what they're talking about is a situation where they're down 11,500 gold, where your opponents are now in control of every element of the game, and you have to find a way to defend these remaining 2 lanes. 1 inhibitor is already down. The remaining 2 inhibitor turrets still stand, so it's not in that part where you can't ever leave your base no matter what anymore, but it's very close.
Because honestly, Lodik is like the combination of The Last Whisper away from making this game a doable game.
Yeah, it's late game Trist.
Yeah, he's nearly at, 5 items at this stage of the game. He is 4-1-4. He is positioned rather successfully throughout the team fights. I think eventually you have to just give the young man enough respect to say, if he gets the 5-6 items, he will start winning these team fights for us. Let's take the big breath. There was nothing on the map to really take at that stage for GRX. It was going to be a reset. They chased them out of the base.
You can see Kira on the Malzahar. Void Staff completed on him as the 3rd major item. He's recognizing the fact, hey, I don't really get to do damage to either of these carries at all whatsoever. I kind of just have to deal with these big meatballs in the front. Might as well make that a little bit easier to do, as the Warmogs completed for Diamondprox means that he'll be able to take some poke if he manages to absorb some of that from Candy or Stitch as time goes on. He'll weather that storm and get rid of that damage so it doesn't stick quite as well. QSSs on the 2 frontliners from the side of Gambit, making sure that Empty can't get an easy pull onto him. Because when you're down 11,000 gold, your frontliners aren't really that durable. And Skarner can sort of just grab anybody he wants, and they're making sure that doesn't happen.
Especially with how far they're overextending to get the engage.
Yeah.
So if you overextend, then Skarner takes you back, another half a screen. Then you're just in so much trouble because you're not tanky enough, as you mentioned. You've got yourself the Syndra that's moving towards the death cap. You've got yourself, the 5-item Kalista, who at this stage of the game is starting to do some very relevant damage, probably going to work on the Last Whisper herself for that final item. And Stitch has had a fairly impressive performance so far, but really it has been Empty and PK, that front line that we're talking about, that have done majority of the heavy lifting.
I mean, Empty's had a phenomenal game, 5-0-7. He has 80% kill participation and hasn't died once on a pure frontliner. That's a very impressive showing from him here in this game.
And as we said, playing Skarner against, the likes of the Gragas and the Thresh that are so good at body blocking, so good at keeping you away, is an impressive game so far.
Skarner versus Gragas, as someone who has played a lot of that matchup, can be very frustrating. The champion's got a lot of ways to keep you out
or to actually just take you further back in.
Yeah.
You have to access a line, he just casts you away. Now they have to team fight when they're 10,000 gold down.
GRX says, all right, here's where it's going to be. This is the fight. PK goes into Gargoyle Stoneplate. Diamondprox in the front, immediately destroyed as Stitch goes on a killing spree. GRX still looking to take this one even further. Empty on the front line, still going to be shielded up. Stitch maybe in some trouble for now. Stejos goes in, looking to start this one off. Lodik's going to be untouched for now. Still trying to get himself out, but he gets bursted down. And everybody's dead on Gambit. A double kill over to the side of the mid laner for GRX.
And Empty is having a godlike performance. Flashes in, gets his man in Lodik, and is only Kira alive. He will take himself a Rift Scuttler, but he will ultimately lose this game.
I feel like I jinxed it. As soon as I say Lodik's untouched, he immediately just gets deleted. And there's no way out for the AD carry or for the team of Gambit. They will not find their success here in game number 1. Instead, it's GRX who
gets denied by an
inhibitor respawn, but give me just a couple seconds here and we're gonna get right back on the hype wagon as LMS's 3rd seed finds their first win in the 2nd game of Worlds 2018.
And a pretty commanding performance out of GRX.
Yes,
they won all 3 lanes. They were able to have very good control over how that game was pathing. And I think, you know, some desperation plays out of Gambit, maybe sooner than I would have liked to have seen them, but GRX, all compliments to them, caught every one of those plays and were able to turn them around. You know, there was one iffy Baron. Yeah, but apart from that one mistake, this team looked very good.
The Baron was throwy, but honestly, they controlled the early game so well. Going back to what we were talking about with the experience on Gambit, how these guys, some have been around for a very, very long time, going up against a team in GRX that literally joined the LMS at the beginning of this competitive year. They've got all these new players here on the world stage. We talked about realizing the gravity of the situation as you sit down in LoL Park and you realize, hey, this is the biggest that it gets. We're here right now. And then to come in and just smash those experienced players in lane and take control of everything, phenomenal job from them.
Yeah, because in traditional sport, it's just called the fishbowl effect, right? When you play in the middle of an arena and you sit down and you look up and everyone is looking at you, like all eyes on you for the first time, and you're playing against people that you probably sat down when you were starting League of Legends and were like, hey, I want to be like Diamondprox. I want to be like Edward.
That's the guy right there.
That's the guy right there that I'm trying to emulate. I mean, you got to give so much praise to this GRX lineup because they have had such an up and down season. To be able to come to the first game of Worlds against probably your biggest opponent in this group and have such a statement early game is very impressive.
And momentum, when you've only got 4 games to play in groups, can take you a long way. GRX has to be feeling good about that one. And for more on the game, let's hear from our friends at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, as far as surprises go and not really knowing what to expect from each team, I think we booked our first big surprise, at least for me. I did not know what to expect exactly from GRX, and the fact that they play so confidently, play so strong in this early game, caught me off guard.
Yeah, so dominating just based off that mid lane pressure from Candy. So already what we're seeing from GRX, really dominating and good pressure from Empty. I thought they really had it down packed.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I just straight off the bat want to announce our MasterCard player of the game in Empty. He really was the catalyst for so much of that dominant early game.
Right, you have 3 winning lanes. You're really just looking to track the enemy jungler, and that's exactly what he did. He stopped a bunch of potential aggression on the bot side, finds Diamond here to set up for the rest of his team, and you know, they are working well together. Koala flashing in for the Ignite to find that kill, but all this is keying off Empty and turning that into the mid lane as well. So once they are able to find a bunch of kills from him, they start grabbing all the turrets, and the early game lead they built was completely off his back.
Exactly. The only mark that I had for him is that he wasn't in the enemy jungle for the Raptors when it first spawned, because Candy was doing so good of a job in the early game and the mid game. Level 6 pings, those made repeatedly. The camp was paying off, and so the mid lane pressure was a reason why the catalyst was moving forward. So mid lane pressure.
I like for GRX that they kind of went off what they've shown in the Gauntlet. In the regular season in the LMS, they weren't doing too hot in the early game. They weren't really an early game team to be reckoned with. But in the Gauntlet, they completely turned that around. They had the most kills in that at 15 minutes. They had the highest goal difference at 15 out of anyone in the LMS Gauntlet. And I love that that is what they chose to do, because I think it's really valuable in the best of 1 scenarios in play-ins.
Yeah, value your laners. We're seeing a lot more Candy. The reason why Candy's coming in, no Wuji to be seen, is because he's that talented. So that being said, bottom lane meta is coming back. So now Stitch is back in action. And PK as a player, this is what I love, because spring split, summer split, split pushing top laner. But then he's really needed to join the team a little bit more, roaming from the top lane to the mid lane. That's how they got the flash on to Malzahar earlier on. So PK is a standout performer.
Yeah, and just talking about some of the bot lane stuff in particular, there was a ton of AD carry and support bans in the bot side that kind of forced this Kalista and Thresh to come out. The Thresh is not as effective as
I think we just have to take a minute. I do not like, you know, completely beating up players, but I think Edward is one of the guys with the most experience we were looking at. He picks the Thresh, and he did miss a lot of important hooks, so that's something they have to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think I remember a single important hook that he landed. There are a number of team fights that started with his hook whiffing, and that's a pretty big problem.
And flashing with the box.
Yeah, so like, I think that was a big problem for them, but GRX picking 3 winning lanes, picking a jungler that can go control the other one was a very nice game plan out of them, but it wasn't all easy for them.
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to jump in. We had kind of a difference of opinion. I think for a first game, they did really well in their early game leads and whatnot. You think GRX in the team fights did not look as clean by far as you would want them?
I think they had a great early game. I agree on that. But looking forward for this team, I am a little concerned that you've had all these kills start going back and feeding into a Tristana. And if you had Edward playing better, maybe not on Thresh, or Diamond not getting shut down so hard in the early game, plays like this could have really hurt them.
And here's the big problem for me, because Diamondprox, he has himself a lot of like HP. He's had the HP pool on the Warmogs, and we have a redemption on the Thresh. They're getting blown up. There's no real front line for Lodik to be able to.
However, this is one they managed to turn around.
Right, and I think this is why I was worried, because Lodik starts getting really large here, and to Raz's point, the problem was they never had the tools around the Tristana. There was no Night's Vows going on to him. There was no resist being built, so the Syndra always had a target.
Yeah, that was my issue ultimately. These are longer fights that you have to play through. The fact that Lodik wasn't given the space to perform here was a major turn. Now, that being said, good indicator for the next game is that you can play around bot side a little bit more heavily. These early game mistakes are something you can kind of deal with the draft, but maybe try to focus on the team fights, because that was messing up GRX.
So Shane, for GRX, it was messing them up. Do you think this is a positive sign for Gambit that they were able to fight back? Well, unfortunately, they were in a major goal deficit, but did you see positive and hopeful signs in their team fighting later in the game?
Yeah, team fights are strong. So ultimately, the big point is take those team fights. I want to see a tankier build out of the Thresh. Redemption is not the go-to. Zeke's is a really good point. Nice Vows you've already mentioned. So they have frontline that can move up. I can understand why Gragas didn't have it, because he just was that far behind in the game. But ultimately, I think that's something we should look towards for Gambit.
And I'm a little concerned just if people keep targeting Lodik, because he was the only guy looking great there. I think all the other members had a moment or two, but like they threw a million bans at him, forced him onto the Tristana, so he couldn't carry until like 4 items, and at that point the rest of the team had fallen that far behind. I want to see if Chaos Latin Gamers take a similar approach when they go up against them, because it did feel like a pretty good blueprint, all things considered.
It could shape up to be a very interesting group when we look at that. Then GRX, a good surprise, very first good game from them. And I think when we look at what we talked about at the top of the day, you have to finish top 2 here. So the first day, dropping those games is not good for Gambit. They're going to need a win versus KLG later, and maybe GRX can go 2-0 today.
Yeah, I think GRX are looking really good. To that point, it's always difficult with the amount of VODs that you get on a team's current performance. Running with empty, we didn't get that much of a chance to see them. I think the last series that we saw was very impressive. So just based off that alone, I think that LMS is actually fielding their second best team, much like Cloud9, in their play-in stage. So that's something we should track a little bit more to see if the team fighting can get better and if they can learn going forward, if they can get past this into the best of 5.
Promising signs. I mean, for the LMS, as said already, it's always about those teams coming in behind the Flash Wolves to make their mark, because that's what we always talk about, and they've definitely made their mark in game 1.
Yeah, it's always been a criticism of them, and it was really played into last year when they failed to make it out of the play-in. So I think for the side here for GRX, they're really hungry to not be that, you know, third place LMS team who comes up short again.
And with that fantastic logo, I mean, wonderful that they picked up that
I want to
first
see more
win.
of it.
Yeah, we want to see more of it. Now we're going to take a quick break, but as we go to break, a reminder that Championship Kha'Zix and a whole host of World swag is available now. And if you're looking to show your support, pick up your team-specific chroma, which can include a loading screen border, special recall, and an emote that you can flash in-game. Go check that out. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be Game 3, Detonation Focus Me versus Kaboom.